Good morning again. So I'm really proud to put together two retailers, coming one from Italy, the other one from Japan. Two countries that are completely different approach to the final consumer, but I think what they could tell us how they manage the relationship with the final consumer, how they promote the fragrances and the brands to the final consumer is very interesting. I think that niche perfumer, artistic perfumer, whatever will be, need anyway some storytelling, capable to explain. We have a huge problem of languages. All of us know now it's difficult to speak about perfume in the same language. Someone told me before also. We have different examples in this case, but I think that something that I'm a little disappointed is that we try to propose the fragrances, the brand in the same identical manner in different countries, forgetting that we have different cultures, different approaches, and I think that it's mandatory that each of the one proposing the fragrances know how to propose, avoiding to betray anything about the brand mission, etc. But how is the best way to propose to their clientele? Is not everything identical. I think so. And so probably they tell us something special about that. Thank you so much for all of them. Thank you to Karen once again, that is every time present for all the workshop. Thank you to Tom and thank you to Matteo.
Okay, so we're going to get started. As part of Essencional is a website dedicated to niche perfumery, and we're affiliated with Essence. And one of the things that I do throughout the year is really monitor what's happening in the industry, between what's happening with brands, what's happening with retailers, and perfumers. And so over the years, I travel, and when I travel, I always go into stores, and I always talk to the retailer, and we have found that there are some shared challenges, let's say, shared ways of doing business. And today we're gonna talk to, as Silvio mentioned, Tom from the No Shop in Japan, and then Matteo from 50 ml here in Italy. So I'm going to ask them the same questions, and they will tell you their versions, and then at the end I'll make some final observations. Okay, so we have just a few shots here. So here's Tom in his store. We'll start by showing, and then Matteo, hard at work. And here we start with just to give you an idea of being in the store in Japan. And so this kind of transports you to the feeling of where the shop is and what it looks like, and were you a consumer to walk in the door, what would you see? So to begin with, tell me about your store and how it's arranged, and maybe a little bit about your customer.
Thank you, Karen-san.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Nakamori, the founder of No Shop. We are the first and the biggest retailer niche fragrance. We founded it in 2017, and we have 23 stores across Japan. Sorry, my English is work in progress, and Italy is also. So today, Natalie from No Shop, No Shop team from us, she is the best translator over me. So I want to focus on what to say and not how to say it. So she will do our conversation to translate. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you. And じゃあここからすみません、日本語で。In Japanese. Okay?
Okay. So just let her use the mic then. Okay.
日本の市場規模なんですけども、実はすごく小さくてですね、大体香水市場でいうと1000億円ぐらいの市場規模だというふうに言われています。で、 1000億円というのは非常に小さい市場規模で、フランスとかイタリアと比べると多分3分の1ぐらいの大きさになっているのかなと思っています。ただ少子高齢化が進む日本市場においてすごく明るい兆しがあってですね、今現在日本の香水市場大体 10% 超の伸び率を示しているというところがあって、非常に明るい未来があるなというのが今の日本の香水市場の状況になっています。
So at the moment, the Japanese fragrance market is approximately 100 billion yen. This is roughly 600 million euro. And by the year, it is growing at roughly 10%, which is quite unique in terms of growth for a fragrance market. It is considerably smaller compared to European markets or the market in America, but it has this unique potential and rate of growth.
で日本の市場はですね、非常に小さいんですが、大体その日本のですね方々が身につける香水の使用率というのが 10% ぐらいというふうに見積もられています。で、日常的に香水をつける人が 10% なんですが、世代別に見ていくと Z 世代である、20代女性の香水使用率というのは大体 50% を超えているので、我々の香水市場の成長の牽引役が今 Z 世代であると、そういうようなデータが今出てきています。
Within the market, roughly 10% of people in Japan use perfume. However, within Gen Z, specifically women in their 20s, the usage rate rises to 50%. So you can see that within the fragrance market in Japan, Generation Z is carrying the usage rates.
それで、日本の香水市場まだ伸び始めたばっかりなんですけども、非常に日本人はですね、香水に対して少し怖いとか高級すぎて近づきにくいとか、そういうイメージを持っているので、いかにそういうイメージ、マイナスのイメージを払拭するのか消していくのかというところに我々は不信をしてお店作りをしています。
Within Japanese society, there tends to be this cultural image of perfume being something difficult to use because it's associated with luxury. So a lot of people don't feel the need to use perfume in their daily lives.
今上の写真をご覧になっていたらお分かりになるかと思いますが、非常にちょっと入りやすい空気を作っている、入店しやすい空気、それからノーズショップっていう名前でですね、非常に分かりやすいというか、少しちょっとクスッとするような面白い名前をあえてつけて、できるだけたくさんの人に入ってもらいたいというような店作りをしています。で、日本の商環境の中で非常に面白いのが、駅を起点とした、ビジネス環境というのは非常に発展しているっていうのがありまして、我々は特にその駅ビルと言われるような、非常にトラフィックの多い場所に出店をして、そこでたくさんの人にひとまず香水を見てもらうというような戦略で出店をしています。
So our role as a retailer in Japan is to make perfume something that is easy to use in your daily life and place it in areas near retail buildings and stations where there's a lot of foot traffic, so that people can feel this natural curiosity towards the medium. And so, as you can see in the photos above, this is a few images of our stores across Japan. And the format we have is very open, so you can explore everything on your own without having staff interact with you.
ちょっと長くなってきたのでこの辺にしときますけども、もう最後に一つだけ。
And then one more thing, although this is becoming quite a long answer.
で、今私がこうやって日本語で喋ってるように、日本の環境っていうのは非常に日本語に閉じられた、ビジネス環境になってます。ですので非常に翻訳が大事。日本語でどういうふうに表現するのかっていうのは非常に大事なんですけども、今D の写真を見てお分かりのように、我々は香水をそのまま目の前に置いて、その前に試香機、すぐに簡単に香りを楽しめる、そういうガラスの容器を置いた上に100文字のキャプションっていうものを作って、消費者がパッと見ただけでその香水が何であるかっていうことを分かるっていうふうな工夫をしています。これは日本語が持っている非常に俳句とか短歌と言われるような短い言葉でもって、情景を伝えるっていうことを、非常に日本の文化背景としては浸透しているってところがあるので、その文化背景をもとにした、香水の見せ方を考えて我々の方で作りました。
And as you can see today, I'm speaking through an interpreter. And so this is not merely a metaphor, but it's the reality that brands face. Mere translation isn't enough. You need to reimagine your brand narratives through the emotional and cultural Japanese context. And so, as you can see in photo D, we write a very brief description of each perfume, limited to 100 characters. This is somewhat reminiscent of Japanese poetic like haiku. So it's not just what you are saying within these 100 words, but what is left unsaid that is defining the perfume. And then above the description, we have a little glass that the perfume is sprayed in a few times per day. So as previously mentioned, customers can interact with the fragrance of their own accord.
Okay, well, I know that when we spoke earlier, you mentioned, yes, you have 25 stores. Online is about 15% of your business, and that being that the fragrance is somewhat new to the consumer, it's something that they don't have the habit necessarily of using, that part of the responsibility for you as a retailer is to educate. And so the tools that you have in store are a way of the customer navigating the space on their own, but the staff has also been trained. And so this is something that we're going to go into in just a minute. But tell us a little bit about the consumer. So then, being that they're new, or they're kind of feeling their way through fragrance, how you get them to be comfortable with the fragrance, what kind of size do they buy, what consumption habits you can share with your consumer.
非常に難しい質問なんですけども、やはり日本人は非常にシャイな方が多くてですね、私も非常にシャイなんですけども、恥ずかしがり屋なので、なかなか最初からコミュニケーションをしっかり取っていくっていうのは非常に難しいと思ってます。ですので、自分で手に取って自分一人で体感できる、そういうような場を作っていくってことが大事だと思っているので、先ほどお見せしたキャプションのようなものをしっかり置いて、まずは自分で考えて感じてみるってことで、疑問に思ったらスタッフに聞ける環境を作っていくっていうのが非常に重要なのかなと思ってます。
Japanese people are quite shy. I myself am quite shy. And so it's important to create an environment where they can freely explore the perfumes available. And then staff are just an additional resource for them if they come across something that is not available to them in front of them.
Okay. And in terms of the type of product that they're looking for, I think you made a great analysis of the way different cultures would use a fragrance. And I'm going to remind you about the 100 ml, the 50 ml, and the 30 ml, that the Japanese consumer is more hesitant to buy a 100 ml size.
Yeah. そうですね。まだまだ日本の人たちにとって100ミリサイズというのはすごく大きいというふうによく言われていて、昔聞いた冗談なんでしょうけど、非常にミドルイーストの人たちはとても香水の消費量が多いので100ミリを2週間で使う、でフランスやイタリアの人たちはそれを3ヶ月ぐらいで使うんだけども、日本人は100ミリを一生使い切れないっていうようなジョークがあって、それぐらい大きいサイズに対して我々はすごく難しいなというか大変だなって思ってしまうので、できるだけ小さなサイズをお勧めするっていうことは僕らとしてはやっていることではあります。あともう一つ違う画像があるんですけども、香水ガチャというようなフレグランスカプセルトイマシーンっていうのをやってまして、そこでランダムで香りに出会っていくっていうことを進めるっていうようなことをやってます。
Yes, for Japanese consumers, purchasing 100 milliliter perfumes can be quite daunting. So, of course, the smaller sizes are more popular. I mean, it's somewhat of a joke, but in the European market or in the Middle East, you might use a 100 milliliter perfume in 3 months or 3 weeks. But in Japan, it'll never run out if you buy a 100 milliliter perfume. And so, kind of to combat that and to also help with sort of the indecision that is very natural for a lot of Japanese consumers, we have this thing called a kōsui gacha, which is a kind of a perfume capsule toy machine, as you can see in the photo above. And this has 1.5 to 2 milliliter vials of random perfume brands, and consumers can pay 900 yen, which is roughly, I want to say, 4 to 3 euro, and receive a random vial of their choice. And this kind of eliminates that indecision that is natural for a lot of Japanese consumers.
Yeah, you also told me that in your this phenomenon of adolescent young boys or teenage guys, you have this consumer that's coming in groups and has this interest in fragrance. So it's something that sometimes we think, oh, maybe it's only happening in the West, but you're seeing it in Japan as well.
そうですね。ちょっと質問間違ってるかもしれませんが、香水ガチャはですね、高校生とか中学生が学校帰りに遊びに来て、これを回して、すごくみんなでこう何が出たっていうのを一緒にこうシェアし合うっていうような文化があって、非常にこう若い世代、もう10代の世代に対しての訴求っていうところでは非常にいい効果を生んでいると思いますし、ニッチフレグランスが人生で初めてやった香水であるっていう現象をこれによって作れてるんじゃないかなと思いますし、それはこう日本特有の現象なんじゃないかなと思っています。
The perfume gacha also makes it very accessible for younger generations. So a lot of the consumers who come and try this are high schoolers or middle schoolers, and this becomes their first interaction with niche perfume. So this is sort of a very accessible mode to discover niche perfume for the younger generations. That's quite limited to Japan.
Well, it looks like fun. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of other retailers come up, take this idea for inspiration. Let's talk a little bit about your staff now, training, because I know that given that you're in a culture where not only are the brands new to the consumer, but the entire category. So you mentioned that you collaborated with Sankyam Sans for training. So tell us a little bit about that.
そうですね、スタッフへの教育っていうのは非常に重要だというふうに僕らは今思っていて、商品をどういうふうに販売しているのか、つまりはそのスタッフが体験を作っていく、販売のスタッフ、セールスパーソンがお客様の購買体験を作っていくということがあるので、全スタッフにちゃんと香水の知識をしっかりと身につけてもらおうというような取り組みの中で、サンキャムソンさんと一緒にプログラムをまた私たち用に開発をして、それを全スタッフにこう授けていくってことをやってます。で、あとプラス日本語でもって香水を語るってことが重要なので、いかに香りを日本語で表現できるかっていうトレーニングを日々会社の中で実行しているっていう状況です。
So we find training to be very important in our market for our staff, as a lot of the times when the consumer comes into our stores, this is their very first interaction with perfume and with niche perfume. So it's important that we leave a lasting first impression. And so since 2025, we have partnered with Sankyam Sans, the Paris-based fragrance education institution, and with Sankyam Sans, we create a training program in Japanese, as it's important to reflect sensibilities and these training narratives in Japanese for the Japanese market's context.
Yeah. Okay. Well, indeed, we talked about this as well with the brands, and I think you were telling us that, and in fact, Silvio made the reference much better than I did when we had our discussion. But for example, if a brand is talking about, say, a spiritual or a religious connotation to their fragrance, that the concept needs to be very broad so that it can also have a cultural tie with Japan. So when a brand talks about specifics, they need to be able to adapt the concept, not the fragrance, but the concept to the consumer. So I think you were telling us that maybe if you were to give advice to a brand, this would be one of the key points that you would give, and maybe you have an example of someone who did it well. Not that you need to name the brand, but necessarily a story.
そうですね。非常に難しい固有名詞とか、歴史的な背景とかを全て日本人がですね、例えばイタリアのある 歴史背景文化背景を完璧に我々が理解することは難しいとは思うんですが、ただやっぱりアルプスを例えば日本の有名な富士山に例えてみるとかっていうような、そういうやり方で日本の方々に対して、知らないことを伝えていくってことができると思ってますので、むしろグローバルに伝わりやすいようにメッセージを薄くしたりとか、メッセージを少しこう改変したりするよりも、より自分のオリジンとかやりたいことっていうことに対してもっともっと深くしていくっていうアプローチの方が僕としては正しいんじゃないかなと思うので、世界に伝わっていく、ローカルでなんというかすごく深いことっていうのは必ずグローバルにも伝わっていくような方法ってあると思っているので、むしろより自分の中のやりたいこととかとても大事にしていることってことをもっともっと大事にしてもらいたいなというふうに思っています。
So what's most important is to speak of in depth of your story's philosophy or your brand's philosophy. When relating it to Japanese consumers, for example, if you have a perfume that's based on the Alps, we can relate it to Mount Fuji, and this becomes something that the Japanese consumer is familiarized with, and so they can somehow relate to it. But what's most important for brands is that you have a brand philosophy that's really well thought out, and that becomes easier to express or rebuild in a Japanese context and sell within the Japanese market.
Okay. And another point with the brand relations is you told us that, in fact, let me move on here, that you have quite a few founder events where you've had the brand founders come, they present, and interact with the consumer. Maybe you can tell us about an experience.
そうですね、本当にたくさんのクリエイター、ファウンダー、パフューマーが日本に気軽に遊びに来てくださっていて、日本本当に皆さんぜひ来ていただけるととてもいい環境というか、とてもいい人たちがいて、とてもいい素晴らしいなんていうか文化がある国ですので、ぜひ遊びに来ていただきたいんですが、その日本の文化とかカルチャーとかところに対して興味を持ってそこに体験してみたいというファウンダーの方々がかなりたくさん日本に遊びに来てくださっているので、その機会を利用してお客様であったりとか、スタッフに対して直接ファウンダーパフューマーから言葉を届けてもらうってことを一生懸命僕らはやっています。
So we've had the opportunity to welcome a lot of perfumers and founders and creators, and they always speak of how they enjoy the Japanese culture and the people and the way of life. And with these opportunities, oftentimes we have, as you mentioned, these customer-facing events where the perfumer founder speaks to the customer. But on top of that, we usually have in-person training. And this is very important to us because through these in-person staff trainings with the founders, the staff are able to build a very genuine, deep relationship for the brand. And this allows them to translate that relationship when they're on the floor speaking to customers about the brand itself.
Okay. I do have one question for you that we didn't do ahead of time. But you have 25 stores in Japan. Could you just tell us what the average square footage is of the stores? I'm just curious.
ちょっと平均的だけど大体10坪なので30平米から50平米ぐらいの間のサイズ感が平均的なお店のサイズだと思います。
The average sizes of our stores is 30 meters squared to 50 meters squared. So
Okay. Yeah. I mean, because yes, it's small, but you said a lot of them are in like train stations, metro stations, so you're getting that foot traffic. It's just when we look at the screens, they look like there's a lot of space. It looks like there's a lot of air and room to move around, but it's very welcoming environment and maybe a moment of peace for people when they're in the midst of their commute. Yeah, to have like a sanctuary. Okay. All right. So we're going to pause that, and then we're gonna move from Japan to Italy now, and we will now talk with Matteo of 50 ml. So we start with this slide just because we know that you began online.
Yeah.
And so tell us kind of how you transferred from, or how you transitioned from an online retailer to now having a shop, and the whole experience, and what would it be like if I walked into your store today?
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I remember when the first time I was running around the stands, for me it's a great pleasure to be here. And opposite to Tom, our business is the opposite, because we have only one store that actually is a bit bigger, is now. We enlarged in 2023, and now is around 300 meters square. But we do mainly our business online. So I would say in the same proportion than Tom, but in the opposite way. So I would say 20% in the physical store and 80% online. And that's why, especially my brother, always believe in e-commerce. When we started, e-commerce was, I would say, the devil in the industry, because the website was used just to clean stocks. So I just use this website, put I would say a commercial product just to be sold as fast as possible. So the image of online retail was very bad. Was so bad that when we started, we were forced to open a physical store after 4 years that my brother started the company. And we couldn't find any stuff, so I've been there by chance. And in that moment, I start to learn, starting from training, starting from the relationship with the customers, many things, many positive things about the world of fragrances that I couldn't know just in my office with my computer. And I learned so much, especially from 2018 till 2020. And I grew my passion in the most natural way. The other thing is that given the fact that our store was mainly online, in the physical store, I wasn't forced to make people buy. So if, as the Japanese customer, there was a bit of indecision, I was the first one to say, don't buy. I give you a sample, so try and come back. And this was something, I would say, new, just to don't say bad things, compared to the offer, especially in Milano, when I remember many times I had the perception as a customer that the person that was selling the product, selling a fragrance, was there in a very posh mood, like he was saving life. And I made this statement when we opened, and I said, I want the people to feel comfortable to enter in my store, even if they're wearing a swimsuit and some fly flops, sandals. And it's still in this way. We do many things. We have a very important brand, but the attitude is very, we want to celebrate the happiness of this world. And because in those years people were happy about this type of service, thanks also to the pandemic, that for us, for our business, it has been a huge moment because everyone was closed in their houses and were start to create an online structure. We already had the online structure, and so we could make many sales. It was a great period for us, like I would say 3 months of Christmas, something like this. And in that moment, we decided that we were ready to move the communication we had in the store with our customer to the online platform through social media. We started also because TikTok, the Perfume Talk was growing a lot in the beginning of 2020. Personally, I don't like the TikTok style. For me, it's too short. As you may have noticed, I like to talk, so TikTok for me is too short. So we started a YouTube project, we started an Instagram channel, and the idea, the strategy that we always had in mind was on one side to celebrate the happy side of this world, so the positive emotion, but on the other side, try to educate our audience. We started in 2022, making interview with perfumers, with founders of brand. Here in Exans is the second year that I have the possibility to have a little room to interview all the people in the industry. And of course, it's not something that create big numbers. You are not doing 7 million views, but you are delivering a content that target few consumers that are those that are really into the world of fragrances. So I've seen that many other retailers have started to do this project, and I'm happy that we started like few years before. And last but not least, we keep doing this idea of training, not really training, but of explaining our customer how to consume the product, as Nose Shop does with events. We started when we had this store, so 2 years ago, and till now we have hosted some big names. One of these was Olivier Cresp. We did this beautiful masterclass with him, and people appreciate the fact that they can also interact among each other, and some of them became friends with each other. And for me, it's something very happy to see how people have been connected from a common passion that is perfumery.
Well, yeah, people are connecting through fragrance, and it's your store. It's an environment where they want to. You're building a community, actually, and it's a community of like-minded people that enjoy the fragrance and they're curious, and so they're coming in and they're experimenting. Now, do you also have this phenomenon of Gen Z or the teenage boy coming in and with his friends and?
Actually, I've been out of the store since 3 years, so I've just seen this phenomenon during Christmas. But there's a funny thing that we sell a brand which is a Zoologist, which is one of the biggest brands in the Gen Z community, especially because it's something that is often out of stock. So they create the desirability of the product through the lack of availability. So sometimes we receive the order, and we receive it maybe twice in a year, and we restock all the fragrances. And we have the mail, the automatic mail that says, we have restock all the Zoology. If you are interested, you can come and smell them. The first time this happens was 2024. We had a line or something like 150s, 20 years old, that they wanted to smell the weirdest thing. Wow. Then they smell it, I don't know, a very smoky birch tar or something very animalic, and they said, oh no, it's not for me. But the interest of this generation is nonsense. For me, our top client nowadays is not Gen Z, because for me, Gen Z needs to grow a little more. I'm talking also in spending power. But our main target are millennials. Are millennials because me, my brother, most of our team, we are millennials. So first of all, we want to do a communication and to have a service that can satisfy our needs. In a certain way, these needs are closer to those of Gen Z, so the Gen Z groups, that's previous generation.
Now, do you find that your consumer is already fairly, let's say, fragrance savvy, or do they also come to you for maybe for education on the category of fragrance as well as on the brands?
I would say both, because some customers are coming in the store since I opened it 9 years ago, And some others are there just because maybe they've seen a content on Instagram, they've seen an interview with, I don't know, a fashion creator. That is something we started to do last year, to introduce people to this world. Maybe not famous, because I will never bring, I don't know, an Hollywood star, but someone that is closer to the audience. So a creator with a strong community that can come to our store, can come to our office, maybe make a content, and together we discover the world of fragrances. But as I said before, I would say the cool part, the happy part. So, for example, we invite the guy that is expert in cinema, and so we were smelling these fragrances, thinking about, but which movie do you remind? So that people that are not too much into the fragrance world can start to get interest about this.
Okay. And so in terms of training your staff, brand training and general fragrance training is something that you do on a regular basis. I think you said you had several trainings a week.
We are not followed by Sing Sang Sam for yet. Now, sorry. For the moment, we had 3 people in our staff that are coming from IPI, EP, the Italian Perfumery Institute.
Yeah.
But on the other side, other 3 guys of the staff were people who were genuinely passionate about fragrances. Yeah. So what they do is then when the shelves are clean, in the few moments when nobody's around, they go downstairs, they open the raw material box, they start to smell, they start to discuss, say, no, this one we have to throw away because it's not good anymore. They are really passionate. And on the other side, on the sales side, we don't force them to push one or the other brand. They are totally free. Or free to listen to the customer, of course. And in this way, they can really communicate their passion. And because, of course, brand training is very important, but it's more important how do you evolve that training according to your personality in order to make it yours. And that's why with some events we did it in the spring, I asked the staff of the store to stay in the event and to take care of some parts of the event in order to make them more responsible and closer to the project and to the brand.
Yeah, and you also told me that that like some certain staff members like they have their passion, so they like certain types of fragrances, and so like they're the go-to person for, say, the florals or for the woody type of fragrances, and so they each kind of have their own expertise.
Yeah, they have their own passion. They follow their taste. So now there are 13 people in the store. So we have the guy that likes expensive things. We have the guy that likes clean scent. We have those that like fruits, those who like storytelling, a group that like weird things, like animal scents or I don't know, weird molecules.
Okay.
And I think the mix is the best way as a retailer to cover all the aspects of this world. Because I don't know, if you just want to target people that want to spend at least 400 euro for a fragrance, you are not listening at the 99% of the market. But on the other side, if you want to sell only 60 euro fragrances to teenagers, you are losing something. So the mix is the key of everything.
Sure. Now, you have, how many brands would you say you carry in the store?
I don't know. In the store, there are like between, I would say 150 and 180.
Okay.
Considering that we have, I would say 20 more or less brands of skincare and hair care.
Okay.
But most of the store is fragrances, and people come to our store to smell fragrances, to smell something that maybe we're the only one to have in Italy, or just few store. And some of them just stand and said, "Is there something new? Something new has arrived?" And then I don't know, because After the exhibition, maybe my brother will come back with other 50 brands.
Of
I have no
course,
idea.
of course. Now, as a retailer, what advice would you give to a brand who maybe wants to be in your store and be successful?
I guess the best thing to have success right now is to coming back to the origins. I mean, when I started, niche fragrances were those that likes to do something different, I would say, to shake the market and also shake the consumers. What I've noticed in the last 5 years is that many brands has reduced this originality, this braveness, just to follow some trends, which can be, especially in Western countries, the beast mode, the huge sillage, these things that are ruining the product from the base, because we are forcing those they are creating to use a small part of what they can really use. I hope that in the next few years, I've already seen some brands as their own DNA, their own philosophy, and I think that those are the brands that will stay in the market for a long time. And those can be also the brand that maybe in 20, 25 years will become the commercial brands, the traditional perfumery. Because, and then I finish. When I started, the brand that nowadays we see in department store around the world were niche. And everything nowadays is so fast that if you want to follow a trend, you are already late. You have to anticipate the trend. And how do you anticipate the trend? Doing something that nobody has done before.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, let's see.
In time, Karen, by the way.
Well, one thing that's really interesting is both of you were distributors,
yeah.
And then you opened your own store. So I wonder if this is like some kind of a pattern that we'll see more and more across the world, where with the changes in like department stores, and department stores are less of a really great venue for a niche because of the cost, because so many are going bankrupt. Is it a phenomenon that's going to happen more and more across the world? I'm curious about this.
Okay.
Was it for you making the transition from distribution to retail?
Actually, we are still babies under this point of view because we started less than 18 months ago. We decided to do this, I would say, new professional venture, just because in the previous year we have seen that our communication had created a positive environment for brands that made other retailers and other brands improve their position. I would say we introduced, we've been the first brand to have a board to send out in Italy. We did a lot of communication in 2023. And then we've seen that the brand has increased, has enlarged, and everybody now wanted board to send out. But we did the job, and we couldn't get the fruits, I would say, in this way. We put the seeds, but we couldn't harvest everything.
Okay.
So the idea was also based on this. When we choose brands, we choose something that are close to our DNA. Just to give you an idea, the last one we signed is Hellenist, and that's why me and my brother study classical Greek in the high school. People in our team are really fond about it. I'm a big fan of all the Greek mythology, so it's something that is close to us. And then fragrances are good. That's the most important thing.
Okay. Okay. One more shot of your store. What's interesting to me is both of you have it's very spacious for both retailers, and it's very minimalist. And, you know, like me being originally from the United States, when I think of Italy, I don't necessarily think of this for a perfumery, but it's the modern way. And but then you think like design and Milan Design Center, and it does speak to me that it's very chic, it's very appealing to a younger generation that probably feels very comfortable walking in and seeing that it's spacious, and you have no like obvious branding, neither one of you, in your shops. I mean, I don't see specific brand names.
No.
So it's not like Sephora where it's A for Armani and
to answer to this, to what you just said, I will tell you this thing. When we opened this new store, we want to introduce big names that were under big companies, and they forced us to put their shelves, to put their labels, and initially we said yes. Then we have seen how much companies care about 5 centimeters on the shelves. If you gave him 1 meter point 20, I want 1 meter point 22.
Yes,
so we said, no.
Yes.
We are in our store. It's our house.
Yeah.
You are a guest inside, so you don't come here and say which are the rules.
Yeah.
We want to work in a professional way. We don't want to create anything bad to your brand. We respect your brand, but we cannot display as in your flagship store. Because if you think that my store is your flagship store, you can open a flagship store. That's my idea. And the story that we were right about this is that in 2022, I remember, they opened a huge store with personalized shelves, beautiful brands in Corso Buenos Aires. It lasted less than 1 year because it didn't have a soul. And I think that brands, as well as retailers today, has to have a soul.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Okay. Well, we're over time, but I'm going to just make a really quick summary of a few points that me and my colleagues have put together in terms of what we've seen across the world, really. And when I say this, I mean from the people on the panel here, Japan, Italy. I've been to India. I've been to Mexico. I've been to New York. I've been to Hungary. I've been to Czech Republic, UK. So not everywhere in the world, but quite a few retailers that I've spoken to, and they all have said that really their big objective is it's a long-term objective. And whether it's with the consumer or also with the brand, and that this isn't something where they just want to have a one-time sale. It's like, it's not about that. It's about building the relationship with the consumer and building the brands inside the store. It seems, as I just mentioned, that the natural evolution of distributors could be to go into creating their own retail shop. And then in that case, you can house your brands in the way that you want to. It's your house then, and you show your guests the way you want to show them. Entry-level price point, definitely very important. Discovery kits, these are still a essential SKU that every brand should launch with, right? We agree on this?
I will tell you that it's the best seller of every brand online. The
should launch with it. So. Yeah. I should tell you, I have a history of having created that a long time ago at Sephora when we had the discovery boxes. Retailers are also skeptical when a new brand comes in with very high price points because how is it justified? You know. So to brands, you know, look at who your competition is and be realistic, truly. That, you know, we can't all be the competitor of Amouage or Roja Dove or even Byredo. Like, be realistic. The store is a place for discovery. So make it a welcoming environment. And there's a few retailers I spoke to that are recognizing, of course, this trend with the teenage boys, and even have hired some on staff because that person can really talk to that consumer. And if they're really passionate and they love the fragrance, they could be a very good employee. And good employees are hard enough to find already. So the other thing is that a lot of times the retailers recruit from their best customers who have that passion and love, and they can be the best salespeople. Fragrance and brand knowledge, essential, because both of you are really proponents of training your people. Storytelling must relate to the culture. As you mentioned, you gave the example with the mountain, which yes, a mountain, it communicates something, whether it's in the Alps or if it's Mount Fuji. I mean, we all kind of have a vision of what that means. Luxury products need to be consistent in communication, have believable DNA, not a copy-paste. This is really important. And I think that it's something that for both of you as retailers, you really look at what is that brand story, and is it something that I've seen before that somebody else already has? So, and again, like info to brands, just don't do it. Be original, because people see through it, and it could be a temporary win for you, but not long term. Okay, so those are my summaries, and we're over time, but we'll let the audience maybe ask one or two questions if anyone has any questions. Silvio has a question.
Not really a question. Not really a question. First of all, thank you, both of you. And God bless retailers that are still committed to promote something. So the point is, today there is a big transformation that people, retailers are now buying what the final consumer is asking due to communication, due to publicity, normalization. While at the beginning, this sector was based on retailer that was able to promote something unknown, to involve the clients, share the passion. So I think we are still looking for someone that coming back, as Matteo told before, coming to the region. And we need also the best promoter for some brands, for the commission, for the mission, the retailer that love the brands and then share really the mission. Each retailer have to decide which kind of brands, not all of them. So no normalization also, because if we pretend to be artistic, we can imagine to have immediate success every time we learn something that is not in the trend. But I'm really proud, after we founded this exhibition in 2009, to tell that what we propose here in 2009, now in the bestseller in Mastiche. But at the time, no one was betting on that. So we need to be the research and development of the complete sector, so feeding all the chain, all the people involved. But the role is mainly to support what is innovative, credible, true, and respect also all the cultures. And so that is very important to share with all these guys what they are telling us. So I thank you very much, and I hope you will find a lot of followers.
Any questions? I think maybe over there. No, we can't. Oh, sorry. If you have any questions, you can come see us out in the hallway. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.